Throughout human history, there have been many societies that utilizes storytelling as a tool to teach and reinforce societal constructs and to impart the values of that society. Stories that provide moral framework for society have long existed. A good example of this type of story is the cautionary tale. And a good example of the cautionary tale is that of the handsome stranger. Typically in these stories, you would have a female protagonist who is introduced to a handsome stranger who is later revealed to be a hideous monster in disguise or some other form of threat. A good example of this in pop culture would be the vampire, who is portrayed frequently as a handsome and mysterious figure who, as we know, uses those traits to charm and then devour their victims. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am the Wandering Griot, and today I'd like to discuss a particularly unique figure in African mythology and folklore. There's a particular creature that comes to us from the region of Angola who fits the archetype of the dangerous stranger perfectly. That creature is called the Kishi. Now, who or what exactly is the Kishi? The word Kishi comes to us from the Bantu people and is believed to mean spirit. So suffice to say, the Kishi is somewhat analogous to what the Western world would recognize as a demon or malevolent spirit. The Kishi, when it first approaches its victim, would take on the guise of a handsome young man with tall, beautiful hair. The Kishi is believed to be very charming and seductive. After successfully luring away its intended victim, that is when the Kishi then reveals its true form, that of a man with two faces, one of an ordinary human and the other a snarling hyena's head. It is the hyena's head that the Kishi then uses to devour its victim. Apart from simply consuming its victim, in some stories, the Kishi would then proceed to kidnap his victim, to then produce a child with whom, once the child is born, it would then proceed to eat the mother. Earlier on in the video, I made a comparison between the Kishi and a vampire. And although the two may possess similar qualities, I do believe a more apt comparison would be between the Kishi and an incubus. Now, an incubus is simply the male form of a succubus, that being a demon or evil spirit that seduces its victims in order to either nourish themselves or to procreate. The Kishi has also made a few appearances in popular culture. One story that features the Kishi very prominently is simply titled The Kishi by Antoine Bandele. It is a story that focuses entirely around the Kishi as the main villain, and it also takes place in an African-inspired fantasy setting. The second story that comes to mind is also by Antoine Bandele. It is called T.J. Young and the Orishas, a story in which a Kishi shows up as a professor at an academy for sorcerers and practitioners of magic. As for how the Kishi could be used as inspiration for a more modern story, I believe that the concept of the Kishi is so strong that it could be easily transposed into almost any setting. Personally, I think the Kishi works very well as an antagonist, as a dangerous seducer, and a cautionary tale. However, due to the fact that there's not much known about the actual characteristics of this creature, I believe there's room there to expand in further ways, such as maybe a story in which the Kishi shows up as a tragic protagonist who struggles against his or her own evil nature. With that being said, I'd like to thank you all for sharing time with me again. And if you like the video, feel free to express that by either hitting the like button or subscribing, or even leaving a comment down below and tell me what you liked about the video, what do you find interesting about the Kishi, how you would perhaps go about writing a story featuring the Kishi. And as always, be sure to return next time for more stories with the Wandering Griot.